Pairod said he has a lot of things that needs to be covered today, so he might go a little bit over time after 10 p.m. a little bit, but he will try his best because there's some advices and reflections that is going to be covered today. So today we are going to go through like the chart of Luang Por Vriyang's explanation about the practice and the development of the Samadhi and Jhanas together also. So today's translation, Prajan Pairod would shift the method a little bit, so he's going to speak in shorter sentences, and there's going to be more frequent back and forth between the translations of Thai and English. So it would be easier to translate and more accurate today.
งั้นกับผมขอโอกาสเริ่มเลยนะครับดูที่ทั้งหมดใน
So if you look at the chart following Prajan Pairod, if you look at the chart, you don't have to take photos because this is already sent in the line group, so you can look at that, and there's actually 3 languages within one chart. So please look at the chart and follow the chart. So this chart, the way to look at this chart is from the starting from the bottom, and it goes down. And there's some corrections that needs to be pointed out. First is that if you look at the first word on top, the ordinary mind, that is where we are starting. And then they would talk about going deeper into the first down to the 4th jhana. Actually, the 2 lines underneath each jhana is supposed to be that the line on the top is supposed to be like a straight line. And the line underneath that is supposed to be like a dotted line, but it's not so clear here. So that is the correction that Ajahn Pairod mentioned. So in this chart, we start off with, on the top of the chart, it says ordinary mind. When you say ordinary mind, it means the mind that is perceiving the 5 skandhas normally, in its normal state, especially observing or sensing the form skandha, and this is where we are living our normal life, where the mind actually is engaged with thoughts and emotions as usual. The mind that is not even doing any kind of meditation. This is what we mean when we say the ordinary mind. So when you look at the chart, so when you start doing samadhi, it says silent recitation. So when we start doing samadhi, we start off by using this mental silent recitation in the mind. And when we say silent recitation, in the word that we use in Thai also is parikama. And this parikama word is actually also in the Pali canon, in the Tripitaka. But this silent recitation, it doesn't mean to contemplate or to think or to analyze. But this word is actually means like a massage or making it pliant. So this word parikama, when it's written in the Pali canon, it also appears in the phrase where the Buddha was talking about that there's the fire room where it was allowed for the monks to use this like a sauna or fire room to ease the body, and then the senior monks would allow the junior monks to massage their body and help release the tension of their nervous of their joints and their tension muscles. So you can see that when you massage a person, if the muscle or the nerves are still very stiff, you would feel this sense of stiffness or hardness of the muscles. But once you massage the body to its correct state, then you would feel the tension of the body releases itself, and then it becomes soft and pliancy, ready to be used again. So this is actually the meaning that Prajan Pairod like to use as an explanation for what when we say silent recitation or parikama. It means that you actually use a certain object and use it to make the mind pliant, make the mind ready to be used for further development or further meditation. So it's like a massage of the mind to make it right. For example, it can be seen as like when you want to make some kind of flour and make it ready to use to make a bread. If you use the flour and you just mix water, it's not ready for use yet, but you have to kind of massage that flour and water and mix it together correctly. Then it will be ready to be used. So this is very similar to how we look at the mind. The mind needs to be to use the silent recitation to be ready to be used for further development of the mind.
นี่ขอโอกาสก่อนที่จะลงไปสู่ขั้นฌาน
So if you look on the left side of the chart, you would see that on top it says shallow samadhi, and on the bottom it says deep samadhi. So that is the division of shallow samadhi and deep samadhi. If you look in the middle, you would see that from the top, from the ordinary mind to doing silent recitation, then you go into the first, second, third, and fourth jhana. Once you pass the fourth jhana, then you come to the middle point, and that is the point of the authoritative mind, or Jut Palang Amnat, point of authoritative mind. And if you go deeper, then you go down to the Bhavanka and the Bhavanka jhana, which is the trance or the trance absorption. If you go deeper, then you go through the Arupa jhanas. So from in the middle circle, on the top four is the Rupa jhanas, and underneath it, below the Bhavanka, then is the four Arupa jhanas that is there in the chart. And if you, from the point of the authoritative mind in the middle, if you go to the left, then this is where you use, it's called Vichayana. So this is where you use the quality of the mind to do certain things that Luang Por talk about, like that seems like knowing the future, healing illnesses, or recollects past lives. So this is what we call the three vicha, the apinya, the beyond worldly abilities that comes from samadhi. So this is the jhanas on the left. But if you go on the right, then this is leading to vipassana jhana. So vipassana jhana is the quality seeing the trilakshana or the three characteristics very clearly, which is dukkha, anicca, anatta. So this is where the four directions of the chart means.
ครับผมทีนี้
So when we talk about samadhi, some people say that if you look at this chart, and some people would say that there's no mention of Kanika Samadhi, Upajara Samadhi, or Appana Samadhi. Kanika Samadhi is momentary concentration. Upajara Samadhi is access concentration. And Appana Samadhi is a full concentration. And some people say that this is not actually mentioned in the Tripitaka. But Prajan Pairod would want to confirm that all these three types of Samadhi is actually mentioned in the Tripitaka. And you can see it here. Actually, some people might confuse about samadhi and jhana, or concentration and jhana, that are two different things. And actually, they are not the same thing. There are two different things, but it's correlating. It comes together. Samadhi or concentration, it means the great balance, the quality of balance of the mind. But in order to get to the jhanas, you also need to have this quality of a balanced mind or samadhi, which would come and lead then later to the development of jhanas. And Luang Por also talk about this quality that is like the flame and the brightness of the flame actually comes together. It's two different things. The flame and brightness is two different things, but actually they are together as one also. So when we look at this chart, if you look to the left side, the base of samadhi the base of samadhi is awareness, and awareness is like the central foundation, starting point of samadhi. If you look onto the left, you will see that all of this samadhi, this is the quality of kanika samadhi, momentary samadhi, and upajara samadhi, or access concentration. This is on the left. ข้างบนใช่ไหมครับอาจารย์ครับโทษทีข้างบนคณิกะสมาธิกับอุปจารสมาธิคือด้านบนอัปปนาคือด้านล่างใช่ไหมครับ so actually it's if you divide it into the top and the bottom, the top part is the kanika samadhi and upajara samadhi, and the bottom part which is deep samadhi, this is the appana samadhi. So on the top where it says shallow samadhi, it has the quality of momentary samadhi, momentary concentration, and access concentration. And the bottom part of the chart where it says deep samadhi, that is the appana samadhi or full concentration. So on the top where it's kanika and upajara samadhi, it's the rupa jhanas where the quality of awareness is still clear and very noticeable in that quality, in that top state. But on the bottom, where it's appana samadhi, it's where there's a lot of sense of happiness or joy without the awareness being there, so it turns into arupa jhanas. ครับผม
ครับทีนี้มาดูส่วนเส้นกลางดำก่อนนะครับขอบคุณที่อ่านนะครับ
Okay, so if you look at this chart, we're starting from the top, it says the ordinary mind. And then we start our practice by doing silent recitation or parikama. And when we do the parikama, then it starts to go into the jhanas. The meaning of the word jhana is actually kind of intense attention, การเพ่ง intense attention. And what this would do is, it would this intense attention, the result is that it would clear away the thoughts and emotions or the mental manifestations of the mind until the mind is having no thoughts or emotions and very clear in itself. This is the intention of the practice, and this is what we call reducing the mental formations of the mind. And it would reduce in a sequential style. And so if you do it correctly, the mind would eventually go through the qualities that makes up the first jhana, the second jhana, the third and the fourth jhana, like we have recited in when we go over the teachings of the Buddha. And we feel like it should be like that in sequence like that. But actually when we practice, it's not always like that. Sometimes when we do our mental recitation to the point where we let go of the recitation and the minds become clear, eventually sometimes the mind jumps from going through that and then goes to sometimes going into bhavanka. And when it comes out of the bhavanka, it doesn't go through the steps of the jhanas like we chanted, but it jumps from each jhana without really clear structure. And that is what happens to many of us. We come out of the bhavanka, or we get into each state of the jhanas without really clearly knowing how we got there. It doesn't come in a structured way. So this is why in this chart you would see that Luang Por draws a straight black line, but also he also draws, if you look at it as a triangle, he also draw like a dotted line from the silent recitation, and then you can go into each jhana from rupa jhanas down to all the arupa jhanas. There's also a dotted line underneath the straight black line. This is the the clear explanation of Luang Por that he wants to point out that you can also jump from each jhana to the next one without going through the sequence that is written in the text. But this is you can have this quality, but this is not the result that we actually want from developing the quality of the mind. What we really want to develop is that if you do the mental recitation to the point where you let go of the recitation, to the point where the mind becomes clear and pliant, and then if you do it correctly, and it becomes what we call your mind is have wasi, or it's accustomed to this step of the practice very clearly. Eventually you'll be able to go through the jhanas step by step, from the first to the second to the third to the fourth. And this is actually what we really want to accomplish, that the mind go deeper into the jhanas in sequence, but not jumping from one place to another without clearly seeing it. So if you go through it correctly, you would go through the black thick line. But if you still jump from one place to another, you would go through this chart in the dotted line. And this shows that your mind, or the awareness of the mind, is not developed clear enough. You don't have this clear samadhi yet. But if you follow it step by step, this is the result that Luang Por is pointing to. And in this practice that we practicing according to Luang Por Vriyang's method, you can go through this jhana step by step, and this is why Luang Por call his method high-tech samadhi, because you can actually develop the ability to go through these jhanas in sequence like this, by developing, by starting with the mental recitation and let go of the mental recitation when the mind is ready. Then you observe how thoughts and emotions arise and go, and how you able to see it come and go, and let the mind go through the deeper samadhi in its natural sequence. ครับผม
พอดีต่อไปท่านกำลังแก้ท่านฟังเราไปด้วยแล้วก็แก้ไปด้วยครับในส่วนของตัว
So if you look at the chart, you might have a question that if you look in the middle, you would see that in the middle circle is the point of the authoritative mind, and it's actually below the fourth jhana. So the question would arise that is it correct that the point of authoritative mind is beyond, or you would get through it only through the fourth jhana? And Prajan Pairo said, actually that is not true. When you talk about the point of authoritative mind, in this chart it's like a circle with a dot. But actually the point of authoritative mind is not a dot. It's not like a point in the mind that you would encounter or witness. When we talk about this state, actually the samadhi, it doesn't appear as an object. When you experience the state of samadhi, it has the quality of a feeling. So whenever you encounter any visions in your samadhi, don't put too much attention on the visions that appear. What we really want to be in contact with, or we want to develop and experience, is actually the quality of the mind. So the state of the authoritative mind is not a point or a dot. It's a quality of the mind that arises. And once this authoritative mind arises, actually Actually, when you encounter this state, it might be like a split second that you actually encounter this quality. The quality of the fourth jhana, the main quality that would be left in the fourth jhana is the quality of equanimity and one-pointedness and equanimity. And when you have this quality of the mind that is one-pointedness and equanimous, it means that it's not shaken by any thoughts or emotions or any manifestations that appears in the mind. The mind is able to be equanimous or neutral to whatever appears. So you might feel that once you get to this state of the authoritative mind in the fourth jhana, it means that the mind has that authoritative quality but still have this state of equanimity and one-pointedness as its base. So actually you might feel like there's nothing that is going to happen, nothing that appears, but it would start to be able to be used whenever you set the intention, or พระอาจารย์ไพโรจน์ used the word ตั้งหน่วย so set up the unit or the direction of what you want to guide that quality of mind to do. For example, หลวงพ่อ talk about you can start to do some kind of healing illnesses or knowing the future or recollect past lives. So those kind of qualities that appears comes from this state of the authoritative mind that is more advanced when it's in the fourth jhana. But actually this quality of the authoritative mind is there, and you can start to experience or get in touch with this quality since when you're in the first jhana or the second or the third. But the quality that you can encounter is less, it has less energy, and you can experience it in a lesser quality. So for example, if your mind is in the first jhana, the quality of the first jhana, you might experience this authoritative state of mind, but maybe in a split second or in a very low quality or very small, in a small energy style. But once you get into the deeper jhanas, your mind is more clear and the energy is more advanced, then you can really benefit from getting in touch with this state in a deeper way. So the idea is that you start to experience this quality of the authoritative mind even in the first jhana leading up to the fourth, but it gets more gradually more advanced, more clear and more energized once you get into the deeper jhanas, but you actually see it even from the start. พระอาจารย์ไพโรจน์ talk about when you are doing your practice and you go into these deeper jhanas, sometimes you're able to see visions or light or a point or something that is beyond the natural state in those jhanas. พระอาจารย์ไพโรจน์ advised that don't put too much attention on those appearances or nimitta, because they are actually not what we are looking for. But if those nimittas doesn't come from just appearing in the jhanas, but it comes from intentionally setting your intention, like from the appointed authoritative mind, when you intentionally create or look for something and then it appears to you from the wisdom of the jhana, then those appearances is more reliable and you can and that is like the result of the actual deeper jhanas. So from the point of the authoritative mind, you would see that in the chart, if it goes to the left side, that has the samadhi as its foundation, it leads to the vicha or the special, almost a miracle quality or ability of the mind, where it's like the different jhanas leading to what we call apinya or special abilities of the mind. That is on the left. But there's only one special quality of the mind that does not come from shamatha, but comes directly only from vipassana, and we call it asavakkhaya jhana, or the jhana that actually purifies the subtle kileshas of the mind, and that is only would come from developing vipassana to the point where you achieve vipassana jhana. And that you can see that it's the only type of jhana that is on the right side of the chart. And this is what we call the Lokuttara jhana. And once you get to that quality of asavakkhaya jhana or vipassana jhana, this is what we call liberation through wisdom or panya vimutti. But if you look back at the circle in the middle, that is where the quality of Ceto Vimutti or liberation through the quality of the mind that's where it resides. So you can see that in this chart, starting from the top, from the ordinary mind to the fourth jhana, this is what we call Samma Samadhi or right concentration that leads to liberation. But if you go deeper than that point down to the Arupa jhanas, this is what Luang Por Viriyang would also call Miccha Samadhi or not the incorrect types of concentration. And even in the Pali Canon itself, they would also call this state the state where the mind is lost into the jhanas, but not just clearly seeing it. So that is not the jhanas that actually would lead to liberation. So the point where we actually want to stay and where we really want to do our work in the mind is actually in the middle circle, in the authoritative state of mind or Jut Palang Amnat. That is where we actually want to be aware in that state and observe the phenomena without having any obstacles or diluted state of mind in presence. And that is actually the place where we would do our practice of vipassana to the point of realizing the vipassana jhana. ครับผม So Prajan Pairot actually asked whether anyone have questions concerning the chart, but if not, then he would proceed to answering the questions that were sent in today. So the first question is, if I disrobe after this course, how intense do I need to practice in my daily life in order to maintain the state of mind that we have during our 49 days practice together? So Prajan Pairot's first answer is that if you want to really maintain it, you need to come and stay the Vassa here together. That would be the best option. But when you go back to your own home in your situation, you would then start to have many duties that you need to take care of during your day. So at least what Prajan would advise is each day, when you wake up in the morning at 5 maybe, then you should at least do 30 minutes of practice in the morning. And then during the day, try to have at least the time to do 30 minutes of walking meditation and 30 minutes of sitting meditation. So that is one round of practice. And that should be helpful enough to maintain the quality of mind that you have already developed. And during the day, try to maintain awareness throughout the day And since you already experienced the knowing mind, the knower of the mind already, so during the day, try to be with that knower of the mind and kind of have a sneak peek or observe the mind when it goes astray into thoughts or emotions or any other phenomena during the day. So Prajan Pairoh said it's like the simile of the cow. When it's eating the grass, it always looks at the baby cow that is close by to keep an eye on it. So this is the same way that you should do your own practice during the day. So be maintained with the sense of awareness and also observe how your mind goes straight into thoughts and emotions and any other phenomena that appears. What he would not want you to do is to only try to do your mental recitation throughout the day and not observe the mind when it's engaging with the world in its natural state. So Prajan ended with that when you want to develop your practice, it doesn't mean that you have to only focus on trying to do very intense and long stretch of practice as if your life depends on it. But to develop the mind, actually consistency is the best advice, the best thing that you need to do it consistently. So do it at the same amount, but do it every day consistently without having missing days. And that was Ajah's advice.
ครับขอเติมอีกนิดนึงครับวิธีสาสมา
So another advice Prajan want to add is actually what Luang Por taught in Vitisa Samadhi is also another answer to how you should engage with the practice when you go home. So Prajan Pairoh shared that actually before when he heard Luang Por talk about it's better to do the practice only for 5 minutes. It's actually better than doing it for longer, like 30 minutes. Prajan Pairoh said at first he doesn't like when Luang Por say that because his idea, he usually feels that you have to do meditation for a long time and then that would bring better results. But how come Luang Por very young would say that you only need to do it for 5 minutes and that's enough? But eventually Luang Por asked Prajan that when you do 30 minutes of meditation, actually how long can you really maintain your full awareness of your mental recitation and observe the mind and really have the awareness in its correct state or in its correct place? Usually we don't have it even longer than 3 or 5 minutes. So actually, when you go back home, sometimes it's a lot better, and as this is Luang Por's advice as well, that if you don't have much time, you can do it, practice in the style of Vitisa Samadhi that Luang Por advised, is to do it only for 5 minutes. That's enough. But during that 5 minutes, you have to really be aware of your mental silent recitation and really be aware of where you place your location point and really be aware of observing the mind and really be with your object of meditation that you've chosen to your best of ability and really have a clear awareness during that 5 minutes. And that is also a very, very effective way to do your practice in your daily life. Luang Por usually advise that it's better to do it in a short times, but do it many times. It's better to do that short but many times, better than doing it in a long stretch of time, but not having a good quality of practice. So that's also another advice for your practice at home. So the second question is, each day when I wake up, I usually start by doing Samadhi, sitting meditation, usually before the sunrise, sometimes starting from 3 to 4 to 5 a.m. But what I observe is that during those times, all the surrounding is very peaceful and quiet, but my mind becomes even more agitated and it's going all over the place and it's never peaceful during that time. So why is that? And also during the day after that, after doing that meditation, usually I would be able to work with whatever is needed during the day in a very efficiently during the day if I do practices in the morning like that. So why does this happen? Prajan's answer is that at night, when the mind goes into the bhavanka state, it's like the mind had already had a chance to rest. Prajan talked about that the manifestation of the mind, the objects of thoughts and emotions are actually like food for the mind. So when the mind is already rested during the night, whenever you wake up, sometimes from the state that the mind has already rested, then the mind is like an animal that then go out hunting in the morning. So whenever you start your meditation, since the mind has already rested, then it becomes very agitated. It has a lot of energy that needs to be released and has to take something and take it as an object for the mind to engage with in the morning. So even though all the surrounding is very quiet and peaceful, many times the mind will be very agitated in the morning. And this is because the mind has accumulated energy and has already rested fully during the night. So now it's looking for emotions or thoughts to satisfy the mind itself. But during the time in the morning like this, like from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. before the sunrise, Luang Por Priyang would usually say that that is like the golden hour of the practitioner, because it's the time that we can really endure ourselves or develop ourselves fighting with being drowsy or sleepy, or even fighting with our own pillows and blankets, because it's very tempting for us to follow whatever the mind is actually guiding or luring us into. If we can maintain your practice, if you can maintain your practice during that time, even if for practicing for 30 minutes, that is actually the time where you really develop the quality of the mind to overcome those obstacles, and that's actually a very good time to practice, and then it would show its results during the day as well. But this quality that you've mentioned is actually is a result of the mind that has not come to the state of pliancy or readiness of the mind yet. If the mind has developed its quality to pliancy, to be ready, to have the good state of the mind already, then in the morning the mind would usually becomes very peaceful and be ready for a deeper state of meditation in the morning. If the mind is pliant already, it will be very easy for the mind to be settled and then become firm and steady in the practice as well. So this also shows that so from your question, the mind has a lot of energy that it needs to release, but also it shows that your mind is not in the state of readiness yet, so you can develop on that as well.
ขอบคุณเพิ่มเติมว่าเพราะเหตุใดการดำเนินชีวิต
The second question is, why do we have to take our shoes off when we go to alms round or bintabat in the morning? Is there a reason? So Prajna Pairo said, actually, if he was born during the Buddha's time, he would have probably asked the Buddha to wear shoes, because it's very painful sometimes when you go in bintabat in the morning, especially the roads these days. But Prajna Pairo shares some stories that you can see that each day there would be some people who come in front of the path that we walk, and they actually come to clear away the obstacles or the little rocks along the path every day. And that is actually one way that you can some people can gain some merit every day. So there used to be two lay people who came to stay at the monastery before and actually asked Prajan Pairot, is there anything that you want us to do every day during the time that we're here? So Prajan Pairod's answer is he actually would want them to keep the 8 precepts while they're here. And the second thing is to please go out to the road and actually clear away the rocks and the small pieces of glass that is along the road where the monks would go for alms round every day. Can you please do that? And actually each day when you do it, please make a wish in your mind that may, from the act of clearing away the obstacles for the monks when they go out to Bintabat, may all of my obstacles in life be also clear away as well. And eventually these 2 couples, actually they got a job now, they're staying in Finland, and they actually make a lot of money, like more than 100,000 baht each month for each of them. So this actually has an effect. So there are benefit from someone doing something with an intention of the merit and with a good intention. So coming back to the story of in the Vinaya, actually in the Vinaya of the 227 rules that we actually recite in our Patimoksha, there's not a phrase that talks about you cannot wear shoes when you go to Bintabat. But there are rules, for example, that you should not stand and give teachings to someone who is sitting down, for example. But it's like a custom that in the old days the monks would not wear shoes when they go into the village. And actually Prajan shared the story of in the old days during the Buddha's time, the Buddha would allow everyone from every caste, whether you are a king, you are a village person, you are a beggar, or you are like an outcast, everyone is allowed to come into ordination in the Buddha Shasana. So this is one answer, that if the shoes were allowed, you might see that people would have all different kinds of different shoes. Like someone would have a golden shoe and they would wear it. And it would become like a division, a way to divide the people who coming from different backgrounds, even though they are now ordained as monks, and there should not be any divisions between the monkhood. So if we all take off our shoes when we go into the village and we go Bintabat, it's like everybody is coming back to the same level of like walking barefoot, going barefoot into the village to beg for food, and we don't pay respect to each other according to anything else, but according to the vasa of how who ordained first. So that is also another reason. The third reason Prajan gave is that it's a way of respect, where the monks having respect to the lay people, that we, the monks in the Buddha Shasana, we live our life as someone who asks to be offered something, ask to be offered food, as and this is the way that we maintain our living. So we take off our shoes as a way to pay respect, and also the lay people, they take off their shoes as a way to respect monks. So it's also a way to showing mutual respect between the two parties as well. So this is it's not a rule, but it's like a custom that Prajan said it's actually the way why we take off our shoes when we go Bintabat in the morning.
ขอบคุณครับคำถามจากท่านพระอาจารย์กล้วยครับวิริยะโพธิสุชาดาธรรมครับกับผมมากชีวิต
Okay, the third question is when Luang Por Vriyang was still alive, I used to ask Luang Por that I sense that I can feel like there's a dark shadow and dark spots all over me. So what should I do? And the next morning, Luang Por led me to do some chanting to pay respect to the triple gems. And then afterwards, Luang Por gave me 3 เงาะภาษาอังกฤษเขาใช้คำว่าอะไรครับ 3 rambutans to eat, and then asked me to eat the leftovers of Luang Por's food for the next 7 days. And after that, I felt cured. I felt relief from that dark spots and dark shadows. So my question is, what are those dark spots and dark shadows, and why was I healed after Luang Por gave me 3 rambutans? So Prajan's answer is, if you talk about the dark spots or dark dots, when Luang Por very young talk about these dark dots, he usually refers to moha, delusion, as in anger, greed, and delusion. So this delusion, the simile is that it's like a small dot where it seems like it's not interfering with anything, it's not something big. But once it shows its power, or once it shows itself fully, it becomes very big and it's actually overwhelming everything else. Praja also said that it's like a small infection that sometimes is very small in the back of your ear. It seems like nothing. But whenever you're tired or your immune system is down, then that small spot actually can expand and can cause many problems. So this is very similar to this small dot of delusion that Luang Por talked about. But if you refer to not the small dot, but the small dark shadow, and it seems to be able to disappear after you eat these 3 rambutans that Luang Por gave, my guess is that those dark shadows are some kind of atisamanagaya, or some kind of spirits that is like covering you. And to answer why eating these 3 rambutans can cure your situation, Luang Por very young would answer something like this as it's beyond any answer. So my answer to this is also that it's actually something that is beyond answering. Come. So this question is, when I ask who is the consciousness, or sometimes we say who is the knower, คำถามตอนแรกท่านถามว่าใครคือผู้รู้แล้ว So what is actually the answer to who is the knower? What is it? So พระอาจารย์ answer is, when we are told to ask this question, asking the question, who is the consciousness, or sometimes we translate as who is the knower, this is actually a question that does not mean that we want you to go and find an answer for this question. But this question, we use it like a weapon during our path where we practice both during doing vipassana and doing shamatha. So this is like a question that we use to lead the mind to observe the quality of the knower, or to look for the knower, or to see the consciousness that is perceiving each phenomena. So Prajan said the other day, he asked this monk, when someone is talking something bad to us, where do you know it? And he actually answered that the ear is what is knowing. But Prajan said, actually that is not correct. The ear is actually like a doorway. It's the gate, the ayatana, the sense faculty where the information is coming through. But what is actually really feeling or perceiving the words or the phenomena is actually the mind or the consciousness that is inside. So we have our sense faculties, which are like the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, or the body. That is like the doorway for the information to come to our mind. But actually the consciousness is the quality, the state of the mind that is knowing all of these phenomena. So you would see that sometimes you hear some sounds. There are sounds all over the place, but you cannot hear it. The sound actually comes through your ear, but you cannot hear it because your consciousness is not connected or not paying attention to that sound. So at that moment, the knower is not knowing the sound. And this is why this question was raised. That whenever you feel you're practicing and you feel all these thoughts, emotions, or visions or phenomena, or anything that happens to the mind, and you're feeling you're indulged in it, or you're overwhelmed by this mental phenomena, this is when you would want to bring up this question, like who is the consciousness? Who is conscious of this phenomena? Who is knowing this phenomena? And this is actually a question that would lead you to the experience of getting in touch with this knower or this consciousness. Or when you do your mental recitation, when you ask this question, who is conscious? Who is being aware of this Buddha? So it would lead you to see where this mental recitation of Buddha is coming from. Or if you sometimes feel this rapture of happiness or bliss, when you ask this question, it would lead you to see where this bliss is coming from. So it's not a question for you to try to find an answer, to give an answer to, but it's a question to be used as a tool to lead you to notice this state of consciousness or awareness in the mind. And coming back to just the previous question about the black spot of the mind, which is the state of delusion that we are trying to see. So Prajan also shared that up until the point of becoming an arahat, it's normal that this avijja or this dot, this black dot, would still be there. It wouldn't disappear until you get to the state of arahatship. But once you develop this sense of consciousness or the knower, it means that these black dots are there. The delusion is there, but it does not show itself or does not harm us, because this quality of the knower or the quality of mindfulness and awareness is clear and vibrant. So these black dots doesn't harm us or doesn't show itself to us. ครับผม
จริงๆคำถามนี้ ผมว่าจะยกยอดเป็นวันพรุ่งนี้แต่ผมเห็นประโยคสุดท้ายผมก็เลยขอโอกาสครูบา
So one final question that Prajan want to address today, because he feels it's appropriate. The last question is that Prajan, can you please make a conclusion or a condensed explanation of the main topic or the necessary topic that we need to understand from the Luang Por's teaching in the first, the second, and the third book as something that is very necessary that we cannot miss from each book. Prajan Pairot clarified that from the three books that we've been learning from Luang Por very young during this course, the first book it's concerned about purely concerning Samadhi. The second book is concerning the result. And the third is concerning Vipassana. So the first book talks mainly all about how to develop Samadhi, starting from why we need to develop Samadhi, how to develop Samadhi, how to sit, and how to do the practice. So that is the main idea, starting from there. And then Luang Por taught us about how to do the silent mental recitation of Buddha. And this is actually what Luang Por really emphasized, and it's very important that you make sure you understand how to do this mental recitation. Prajan said he himself, he have been having difficulty in his practice for 10 years because he did not really fully understand how to do this mental recitation correctly, like Luang Por very young taught. And Luang Por would talk about mental recitation as like the key to unlock the states or the success of developing the quality of the mind. So this is very important in this method of practice. So you should go back and check and read it again. And one important point that Prajan highlighted is that when to stop doing mental recitation. So this is a very speciality of Luang Por's teaching, where he would call this a high-tech method to do this practice. Is Luang Por really clarify many different types of experiences that can happen. He even talked about 25 mental 25 quality of the mind that can happen from doing this practice and how to engage with it by stopping the mental recitation. And this is where you should go back and look again. And also on page 80, where Luang Por talk about how to use the breath while you are pausing or stopping your mental recitation. So this is the main idea of the first book, where it talks a lot about how to develop samadhi. The second book, Luang Por talk a lot about the benefit of developing samadhi and how to use it, like how to use it in healing oneself or using it in many other benefit of developing samadhi, and also how to move from developing shamatha or developing concentration to developing wisdom. So this is from Jhanas to Jnana, and how to use samadhi. So this is the main idea of the second book. And the third book, Luang Por talk purely about vipassana, or how to use this ability for liberation. So if you want to ask which topic or what is important that you cannot miss from these three books, Prajan Pairot said, actually the answer is every word of Luang Por is extremely crucial for every teaching. So no word in Luang Por's teaching can be skipped. So this is like these three books are like the conclusion of Luang Por's life's advice and teachings. So Luang Por taught us everything from starting to learn about the alphabet up to the point where we would eventually graduate it and become like getting the doctorate degree in meditation. So everything that was taught by Luang Por in these three books, please go back and read it over and over again and again, in a very detailed manner, to the point where you really understand everything that Luang Por taught. Prajan Pairot himself said that even for him, he's been working and practicing in this method for the last 23 years. Every time that he listened to Luang Por very young's teaching, he always gained something new or some new understanding. And this comes from our own development in the practice. So something that Luang Por said, when we are not ready to understand, we cannot really understand what he's talking about. But once we have gained more wisdom or more understanding in the practice from our own experience, then we would start to hear different dimensions of Luang Por's teaching again. So his advice is, when you go back to your own place after this course, please, you can try like this every day. Listen to one teaching every day for the next 3 months, and try to pay attention to every word that Luang Por taught us in this teaching. So in conclusion, all of this teaching is not something that you should learn, but something that you must learn in this path of developing your mind. Thank you. ขอบคุณครับ
ก่อนที่จะมาเป็นหลักสูตรสมาธิให้พวกเราได้เรียนหลวงพ่อวาง